All right, I'm going to go through a quick portfolio update, starting with dollar, then going to gold, silver, miners, and then the actual portfolio. I want to try and get through it quite quickly. So starting with the DXY, I think we can tell it was quite an impressive Friday. Okay, only up 0.5%, but still look at that bullish engulfing. Looks like it wants to go back to well, not back to, it hasn't been there yet. It went to 106.5, but it wants to go to 107 in my opinion. This is now no longer relevant. Look at this. We broke out the descending, right? It's kind of perfect. It really is. It broke out the descending, tested the next level, which is horizontal, back tested descending, and then look at that bullish smash above the 1 day. Confirms it wants to go higher. Didn't go to 107 in one go, just sort of went to 106.5, hovered down, just wants to go to 107, right? It's really almost picture perfect. So for me, we're going to 107 on DXY, and I think that's great because, well, first of all our stuff is priced in dollars. You may have some Canadian miners, but probably have more dollar-based miners. But more to the point, the dollar going up with gold going up is pretty good because imagine when the dollar goes down. And actually, I prefer a gradual grind higher than some, you know, immediate zoom up and then just as quick a correction. It just ruins the chart. So I think the dollar going up and then gold just slowly inching higher. For me, it's perfect. It gives you time to layer in and out in case you've got some miners you don't like. So, but also it's just more calm, healthy, and yeah, wait for the day for the dollar to go down. Then you're gonna have a great couple of weeks and months. So I think we're gonna go 107. Let's see. First stop is 106.5. In case we go down, it's going to be a back test of this 105 breakout, but I think we're going to go higher as more people come to terms with the idea that rate cuts are not necessarily going to be as violent as people expected. You know, they were pricing in 6 rate cuts, all this stuff. Inflation is over. No, inflation is back. It's going to keep going up. And who knows, maybe no rate cuts this year, maybe even a rate hike. You know, that will surprise the market, send the market down, and maybe gold doesn't go down that much because, you know, rate hikes don't exactly interfere with gold's rise, historically speaking. So I like this. So I think DXY is going to go higher. Let's look at yields. Yields, I think, will also go higher. They're not completely correlated, right? I mean, you had a very strong DXY day. You'd expect all the yields to be up, but they've gone up quite a lot, a bit like the dollar. They're just leveling off a little bit. Some of them at resistance, as you can see. Look at the 30-year. Could go down a little bit, could even come down all the way down here, but I still think, actually, I don't think it'll go down that far. But, you know, it could come back a little bit. I think this is now relevant. Just level off, consolidate sideways, and then pop up to above 5% on the 30-year. Look at the 10-year. Same thing, you know, level off a little bit, maybe even dip a tiny bit, but I think we're going to go test 5%. Yeah, 5% on 10-year. That's a break the system level. Look at the 2-year, probably the most important one. That's the Fed funds rate. That's what the Fed basically tries to copy. So if the 2-year goes up, to me, I mean, look at that strong close there and sideways action on Friday. I think we're just going to go all the way up to the old highs on the 2-year, probably before the 30-year. And that means rate cuts are off the table and maybe even rate hikes are on the table. And then you have to ask yourself, what does the market do? Well, it goes down violently, probably. What do miners do? Do they go down or do they go down a little bit? I wouldn't mind that if it goes down a little bit. And maybe it doesn't go down at all. Who knows? It could even go up. So I think gold and the miners are really well positioned. And it's different today than it was a couple of months ago when, you know, when the market would drop, miners would go down, and gold too. So I really don't mind the dollar. In fact, I prefer the dollar and yields going up, and I think that's what's going to happen. So with that said, let's look at gold. Look at that green day, despite the dollar strength. You know, we had a big drop, but you know, we stabilized quite quickly. Look at this beautiful hammer. Next day, more sideways action. Next day says it's reversing. Friday, okay, we closed off the highs, but we're still sort of holding this level. Honestly, obviously it can go either way. It could go up, it could go down. Obviously, does it depend on the dollar, yields, the markets? Yeah, it does. And again, if the market collapses and gold goes down a little bit, I really don't mind. But let's just look at the levels, right? Because we don't really know what's going to happen. For me, there's only one resistance. It's this 2420. A close above that would be great. Honestly, a close above 2400 would probably be just as good because we haven't closed above 2400. on a daily close, so maybe that's all you need. 2400 is actually also resistance. I could put that, but you know, I think we'll remember that. So a close above 2400 is what you really want. We're quite away from that. That probably takes 2 good days. Otherwise, a close below this level, let's call it 23. You could even just say 2300, but I'm gonna just say here 23 sort of 13. Then you're probably gonna flush a little bit more, and then you got the next levels. The levels are drawn. I don't need to redraw any. Just had to adjust that one. But gold looks okay, just holding after a drop. But those are the levels to watch. You know, 2320-ish and 2400. Silver was a bit weak, despite gold being up, but that's okay. It's also stabilized nicely after that. I don't want to call it a flash crash, but that drop. So what I've got 27, yeah, oh, it's the old levels, isn't it? 26, 27, and then this is now irrelevant. 28 is no longer a level. We cut right through that. So on the on the support 27, after that 26, I really doubt we're going to venture below 26. I doubt even more we're going to close below 26. So it'd be very important that 26 holds. That would be healthy. You know, a drop to 26, not the best case scenario, but if we hold that and make a gradual curl to go back up, that would be fine by me actually, because then that would prove 26 is really support, not resistance. Now on the way up, I'm not going to talk about below 26. We'll talk about that when that comes. It's probably going to be this level. On the way up, this is your 2400 gold close, so 29 equals 2400, right? $29 in silver equals 2400 gold, in my opinion. So close above 29, you're pretty much gonna cut through 30. So 29 is probably the most important level for silver near term. Right, let's look at the miners. That looks beautiful, right? I mean, that looks better than silver. Look at SILJ, by the way, up 1.5% on a Friday. And again, I actually prefer gold and silver going, even though I now own quite a lot of gold. I've been buying that in the background as reserves, like salary reserves, let's say. Bought quite a lot of gold in case it dropped. And actually, gold did drop, but the miners didn't drop that much. So I wish I'd put it in miners. But anyway, it's besides the point. Miners are outperforming the metals still. And for me, the ideal situation is the dollar and yields going up, gold and silver going sideways, maybe even down, the miners going up. So to shorten the equation, I prefer the dollar and yields going up and the miners going up, because most of my money is in miners. So I just make all this money in miners whilst yields and the dollar go up. And imagine when the yields and the dollar go down, then the miners explode. So I think if you zoom out and you really take a look at the last couple of weeks, miners versus dollar yield, just the correlations, it's perfect. You know what I mean? It's perfect. So I really like what's happening here. Look at this GDX. Let's start with GDXJ. Very nice. You know, here's your basically we're at a level. We touched, you know, this daily high of day here on Friday, last Friday. We touched it 42.65-ish, but we closed above what it did then. So this looks bullish. For me, next level is there's just one. There's 44.50. I know that's quite a way away, but I don't really see another level. I know gold and silver have their levels, and that'll probably determine where the miners stall. But you're 5% away from the next real level. And that's usually what an entire level is in the miners. So you're always 5% plus or minus away from one. So on the way down, another 5%. So for me, we're in the middle of no man's land. And here's your resistance, here's your support. That's it. I'm not going to draw extra lines because I'm some sort of an addict on lines. That's it. And it looks very good. And you can see it's outperforming. Let's look at GDX. Even better. I highlighted that area before. Yeah, that's obviously resistance. So here you're actually doing even better than GDXJ. That's probably Newmont helping push up the index. Look at that. Look at that Thursday there. That was Newmont, wasn't it? That was Newmont's Thursday there. And then, yeah, it's just sort of stalling a little bit. But for me, you're still in the middle of no man's land. Resistance is up here. Obviously, look at this resistance here. And then just above, you've got the descending. Yeah, so you do have resistance around there, that's for sure, which is the same as the horizontal. And support you've got here. Support is probably about 5% away, 6%, because since we're a bit higher. And resistance is probably 3 or something, 3 to 4. Totally makes sense. Love it. SILJ. Yeah, it's probably similar to both GDX and GDXJ, like an average of both. Totally makes sense. We've already taken out the descending. So once we take out this 12, let's call it a close above 12, then you run to here. Yeah, that looks absolutely wonderful. I have drawn the lines already, so I don't need to spend too long on that. Look, not even 5% away from resistance. Wow, 6, 7% away from support. So we're edging closer to resistance than support. I think that makes sense. That's beautiful. Let's move on to the portfolio. Newmont had an absolutely extraordinary Thursday. That earnings was amazing. I didn't expect it. Few did, I think. Well, no, it makes sense, doesn't it? Gold's been much higher, so earnings are going to be greater. And there wasn't much sympathy play for the other miners, which was something that I noticed, but also something Shiv said in his podcast, which I really thought made sense. You know, there was no sympathy like Barrick Gold, Agnico-Eagle, just all of them. You'd expect them, you know, Newmont was up like 13, 14, 15% or something. You'd expect the others to be 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% up in anticipation of similar results. They weren't. Cool, no problem. You could, I didn't, but you could rotate some Newmont into the others, for example. I think Agnico had good earnings. I'll get to that in a second. That didn't go up as much, but that's been outperforming. Anyway, Newmont. Yeah, look at this. It just screamed higher. Forget this resistance. It was up like 5% or something. Was it pre-market or just early trading? It just kept going. It kept going, and it was really, really strong. And it touched this resistance, 44, big round number. I think I had it here as a pre-gap mini zone. You can see here also. So I don't think I drew that. Well, whenever, it doesn't matter when I drew it, but that is now resistance either way. It retraced to what should have been resistance, but it wasn't actually on the, we just went right past it. But look, that's also support because it was the high over here. So these lines make sense. This one might have to readjust to something like this, actually. But I don't think we're going to go all the way down there. I don't think we're ever going to fill this gap. I really don't. 40 would be the floor, if anything. But here we go. We're at support. So next one, we're going to close above 44. And after that, we go on to 46. And you know what? I never drew a line above 46. I know there's this one all the way up here, but that was from a long time ago. I just didn't expect some amazing earnings to just slice our way all the way up here. But after 46, 50. Yeah. Didn't realize that was a big round number too, but 50. Keep it simple. I'm not going to draw anything in between. 46 to 50, that's 10%. You can do that. I'm not going to stop off here. There you go. Those are your levels. Newmont looks absolutely wonderful. And zoom out. This has so much catching up to do, right? It's the only one in the S&P. Big boys will start looking at this on big red days. They see Newmont stand out. Good things for Newmont coming up. All right, Barrick Gold. You can see that one didn't have much sympathy play on Thursday, a little bit. And it hit its little local resistance up here, right? 1725-ish. Okay, support, I'll just cover that now. That looks about right for me. Just move it up a little bit for these couple of candles. Let's call support 1630-ish. So resistance is 1730-ish. That's interesting. Next one, I just see nothing. 18, maybe not even 20. Yeah, why not? 1850. It's quite a way away from where we are now. 10%, that's quite a move. Who knows, some good earnings, and this one also will start smashing through and then hitting descending resistance. I think all the lines there make sense. 1850 here because of this top, we never closed above it. Yes, we did venture above. We hit 19, big round number. That's why I've got a, plus it was the high over there, so that's resistance. And after that, you got descending and 20, big round number. I think these all make sense, you know, and support 1630. I'm not going to go below. I just don't think it's going to happen. If it does, I think I've got time to cover that in the next video. Agnico-Eagle, that had good earnings, I believe. Bit disappointing closing low of day here on Friday, but I mean, it's been going up so much. It's outperformed all the seniors for some time. And here we are touching. So for me, resistance is still 67. You can see when above it. I guess you could say it's 68 now too. And that kind of closed that gap, didn't it, there? Almost, doesn't matter. You know, I'll call it 68 now. Yeah, 68. So support will be, I don't see us really going down much. So support is probably 64 because that's what we broke out of there. But I see it actually going back up. I think that was just overdone a little bit. It's just a bit disappointing. But Agnico-Eagle's just gone up so much. I don't mind it going down. That's the type of stock I'd be very confident to buy back in. It's not going to go up more than the others, but it's just more reliable. You know, it's probably the best senior there is. Yeah, so 64, and then after that, probably 62, 60, definitely very strong support. I'm not going to talk about anything below that. I don't even want to draw the lines. It's just gone up so much. I wouldn't really want to buy back unless it goes to low 60s. But yeah, 68 after that. I don't see anything at 70. Yeah, 72.5-ish. Something like this. I don't know. This one's a bit tough to call resistance, but this one is just a buy and hold. I don't really want to trade in and out of this one. I don't mind buying the dip, but maybe tiny sells. Very just perfect miner though, really. No complaints. Pan American Silver. Very nice. You can see, look at all these little daily candles. It touches, doesn't close above 19. Yeah, 1950. I remember this one. You know, this is obviously a bit like GDXJ and SILJ. You got this resistance and support far away, and you've got this no man's land, which is where we are now. But look at all these daily candles. We never really closed above 1950. I think if the day comes where you close above 1950, it could be Monday, you're just immediately testing the high 2050. 20 is not resistance anymore. Taken that away. So these, I completely agree. I've actually read on the lines before this video. It's actually yesterday, so I don't really see the need to readjust any. This is correct. 1950, close above that, up you go. 2050 on the way down. 18, and below that 17, the old important resistance. This probably equates to 26 on silver. Yeah, perfectly actually. I have high hopes for this one. I think we're just going to keep going, and if we start closing above 30 on silver, you're probably talking about Pan America at 22 and running, and then it's a quick move into the 30s. I really see that happening, like just a realignment with reality. This one's great. And what a buy the dip for silver, this one. Pan America and Agnico are probably my favorite ones, actually. All right, next one, SSRM. This one's interesting because it kind of trades in its own world. It's been doing that for a long time. Yes, you know, if silver starts to have a beautiful day, or gold, silver, it'll be green, but it still adapts to its own chart. And you can see 550 was resistance. We closed, look at that Thursday there, that Newmont Thursday, I'm going to call it. It closed pretty much at 550 or just above. I thought we were going to run the next day, which is Friday. And we just sort of, yeah, it was still an up day, sort of doji up day, indecisive, still green. Now we're at 557, no man's land. There's no resistance, right? I remember this chart by heart. There's nothing here. You know, we have to look back here. There's nothing until 7 and then 8 and then 9. So what I've got is I've got mini sells every 50-cent increment. So I did trim at 549, the smallest amount, knowing it's going to go higher. I will have a sell at 599, nothing special, just 599, 649, 699, 749, 799. Every 50-cent increment, just one unit below the big round number. They're just small amounts. It's like 50 shares, 100 shares, nothing special. Holding like 1 or 2,000 shares, 1,500 shares, something like that. You know, small stuff, because I will not sell big until I get to like, yeah, this first resistance. So for me, really the first resistance is this line here, which is 750. So this 749 is probably where I've got my first decent sell. Whatever that is, like 200, 250 shares, or I don't even know what it is. But my plan is to be all out by 10 or something, thinking that it's going to come up with some big resistance, and then you buy back another stock, or by then it's probably worth still being in it. So I don't have that many good till cancels. Like if they all got hit, imagine there's a surprise positive news and it's just up 200%. I'd probably be out 50% if they all got hit pre-market, and I'd still hold just in case, because this probably deserves to be up in the high teens. Completely guessing that, but yeah, just to summarize, this 50-cent increments next around numbers, but no real big sell until like 749, and you can see descending and then the horizontals from way back when. Support is going to be $5. Clearly, we got 550, but it's too close to that. So it's, you know, if it starts Monday and it's down 6 cents, I don't expect 550 to really hold. You know, only if we're much higher, then 550 becomes a real level. So 550 is a level of resistance, but not yet support. It's too close. So $5 is the real one. You can see it tested really well. So I expect that to hold. And after that, it gets a bit difficult actually. After that, probably 460. That might be wrong actually. I'd have to readjust because if it closes below 5, it depends what's happening elsewhere, but it could flush a bit. But this is a good buy the dip candidate. Right, let's look at Wheaton. Wheaton's very strong. Look at this. So resistance is 54, 40, 30. Same thing. Very strong. Good Thursday, by the way. It was a good sympathy play on Wheaton, even though it doesn't have too much in common with Newmont. But there was a good, it's like up 3.5%, something like that, I think. But just look at the chart, you know. Let me zoom out a lot. It's very nice. So you got this 54.30. After that, you got this sort of 55, 50-ish. And then you got the all-time high, 50, just under 58. And then that's it. You're in uncharted territory. And that's why I've extended this, because it might end up being the extended ascending that becomes resistance, which would be way past 60. I don't even think 60 would act as a psychological resistance. So you just got these 3 horizontal lines, and then it's probably the ascending, and that depends on how long it takes to get there. For support, let me just try and zoom in for support. Yes, it'll be this resistance, prior resistance, which also you can see after the support planning. So 51 for support. I think that's quite a way away. I don't think that would happen too easily. Yeah, 5% on Newmont must be like 2 really bad minor days. And below that, I think, yeah, just below 50, basically 50. And that's it. I don't see it going much lower than that. I don't see that scenario playing out. And I think I've got enough time in case it does. The next one is Franco Nevada. You know, this one's been underperforming, I think, because it's a monster. And I would expect it to be doing a bit like a Agnico-Eagle or Wheaton, especially Wheaton, because it's a royalty. But look, this was a very nice day, Friday, especially Thursday. That was a good sympathy play. But Friday was probably more important, even though it didn't go up as much, because we're finally going to take out this little 124 resistance. And once it does, I can finally delete this ending. So once we take out 124, I've got little mini levels. I know it ruins the chart a little bit, but 126, you can see these two here, you know, resistance, got to take out that 126.2, let's call it. And then after that, I got this prior support, which is very close by, 128. When you got big numbers like this, that's nothing. That's like 1% or something. From 126 to 1%. So you probably, you know, sell little numbers, 126, 128, mini trims, and then you're clear for a while. And I think you would encounter a bit of resistance before this resistance here, but I'm not really willing to sell once it's reclaimed this zone. I think it's going to go much higher. And I think ultimately Franco Nevada just goes all the way up to test this descending, you know, this one here for sure. I mean, it needs to, and then ultimately it goes all the way up anyway. So I'm not really keen on doing many sells, but I'm always trimming tiny amounts, almost it's like plankton level, plankton amounts of selling, you know, like 2 shares, you know, 250, $300 out. And when you got like 6,000 in the stock and you're selling 300, it's nothing, but it's just, again, it's for the psychology. And it all adds up when you're selling 200 or 300 and you've got 20 stocks. You know, every day you're selling 200, 300 times that by 20, that's 5,000, 6,000 out. And if you're up 10,000 on a day and you take 6,000 out, it's amazing. The value of your miners is still higher and you've got all this extra on the sidelines in case there's a dip. So it's just the way I do it. And honestly, it works really well. It's more of a psychological hedge. So even selling 1, 2, 3 shares of Franco Nevada, I put these levels is good. And then you can get a bit stronger as you go higher into stronger resistance. And I think 140, well, we're far away from there, but that's what I want to see. I want to see really a close above 124, which should be imminent. And when it is, this will look much better. And I can finally delete this. In fact, you know what? I'm so confident I'm going to delete it anyway. All right, next one is Metalla. This one is one of the weakest, but it did have a good Friday. I mean, I think this one is already massively undervalued, and the Newmont sympathy didn't take place for this one. It was just an average small update. Friday was good though, made up for it, closed a high of day. I see this little mini level here, this 3 point, it's a bit of a weird one, 3.33-ish. Can you see there's those 3 days where it touched it? So a close above 3.33, and you should go immediately back to basically the old high we got to during this entire run, which was 350. So 3.33, 3.5. And then finally 3.64, this high that we never took out for months. And then finally 4, which was prior support here. So those horizontals make sense. Support, I didn't talk about support for Franco Nevada, but whatever. I think it'll go higher. Support will be this level. You can see it's the same thing really. Let's call it 2.9. 2.9. Well, if we close below 2.9, then well, that would be really, really disappointing. Then we're talking old lows from when the miners were flushing, which is really weird. I don't think Metalla's had bad news, so I don't see why it'd be doing that. So this is really undervalued. Right, let's look at the silver ones. First, Majestic. So this one smashed on bad news, picked up at the ascending. I didn't buy any here. I didn't buy any on, did I? Did I buy any? I've forgotten if I bought any. I've actually forgotten if I bought back. I may have done, but it was probably very small, almost meaningless. Otherwise, I would have remembered. But anyway, nice move. Thing is, there are some silvers that have been hit quite hard. I don't know if there's any silvers that I hold that have been hit as hard as First Majestic because it had bad news and the others didn't. But it's a decent bounce, right? So yeah, 14, 15% is okay. How far away are we from the high? 20%. That's quite difficult. For that, you need silver to test its 29 zone at least. I mean, I know it's had bad news, but if silver's at 30, I don't think anyone cares about news. Up we go. So there you go. Those are the resistance. Now, obviously 20% is very far away. You must have resistance before then. I think where we hit Friday's high, because look, there are these 2 candles here. So if you really want to be zoomed in, you could say this is a level. Obviously, it's a level because it's Friday's high, but 7.12. Then you got this little gap zone to 7.2 to 7.3. That would be a bit of a level. I'm going to do the gap close as a level, not gap open. You know, I think once you take out this 7.13, you're going to start venturing into the gap territory, but 7.34. And then let it run, man. Let it run. Silver's probably doing something. I don't see First Majestic going up without silver really going up. I don't see that happening right now, especially after bad news. So if we start venturing higher after the gap close and we're into the 7.4 territory, let it run. Next resistance is 8.4. After that, yeah, it's the old high from all the way back here, $10, huge number. I know it's 9.8, but let's just call that 10. Well, I'll leave it at 9.8. It's actually 9.8. If you wanted to sell this, put your sell at 9.78. And there you go. After that, we'll see. Then it's fun times. Silver must be squeezing above 30. Now, in case this drops, so obviously this is the ascending is support. In case you lose ascending, it's possible, you know. What if silver goes to 26? You could have AG would be probably one of the weakest ones because it's just had bad news. That's just the way it is. So if ascending works, great, keep the ascending. If you start to close below the ascending, next will be the old low down here. Let's call it 6.2. And after that, 5.8 and everything else I've got. I think that makes sense for me. Next one is Fortuna. Much stronger than First Majestic, isn't it? Look at that, actually, really nice. Jesus, almost tested its old 4.9. Basically did, didn't it? If you're at 4.88 on Friday, that's the same as 4.94, which is the old high. This looks really good. So once you close above 4.94, you're probably going to squeeze right through 5. I've got 5.2. I don't really agree with that. I see why I've done it. Let's see how far away from 4.94. That's probably right, to 5.5, which is the real resistance. It's 10%. So maybe that's why I've got this one here. It's also perfect midway point. Okay, I'll leave it as it is. But there you go. Those are your resistance levels. 4.94, 5.2, 5.5. be honest, when you go through a round number, I've said this before, the 20 cents mark is really usually the first real sell level. So I agree with that. And after that, why have I got that? Oh yes, support from here, perfect. And I don't think there's any point in talking about anything above 6. That's quite far away. Now on support here, yeah, roughly here, just below 4.4, I would say support, you know, even 4.3. Yeah, okay, 4.3 to 4.4. Let's say 4.35-ish. That'll be a support. I don't see that happening unless there's a big flush in the metals and miners. This looks really strong. It looks like it wants to go higher. But otherwise, yes, I see this. I can straighten a little bit. You can see why resistance, 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 resistance should be support. It's funny how we didn't care about that on the way up here. That was just squeeze time. Very nice, Fortuna. Right, next one is, I always say it's my favorite. Ah, that's why. Look at that. It just looks like it wants to go back up to 5.5. Really nice. Support, very clear. For resistance, 5.5. It's just like the miners, you know, massive level, massive distance between resistance and support. We're in the middle of no man's land, but edging towards resistance. And look at that, nice close, nice candle. How much of a move until we get to resistance? 10%. That's one good day away, especially CDE. I think you guys are now familiar with how that moves. That can really rocket higher. So a nice move in silver, and this easily goes to 5.5. A test of 29, we're above 5.5. A test of 30, I'm telling you, we're at 7.5. That's just the way it is with CDE. It's not the best company. I think it's got like lots of dilution and all this stuff, but this 50% move is probably what you're going to see if silver's at 30. You know, and if you're an absolute wild thrill seeker, you could just sell everything you've got, put everything in CDE if you believe still $30 silver is coming, and you could retire just on this one trade. That it's probably going to happen. 7.5 CDE with silver at 30. Trust me, bam, up it goes, a close above 5.5. And one thing I wasn't sure about is whether this would be a level. You see this support from here, so I'd extend it, but then I removed it thinking I'll put it in just to be safe, because after that I really see nothing until basically 7.5. I love CDE. Now support will be 4. After that, gap fill 3.8, and then we'll see. I don't see that happening, but if it does, I'll have time to cover it because it won't happen a fast discovery. And this one with its little illiquidity and spread. This is no longer a level, despite how much of an important level it was on the way up. We took it out. It's the midway point. 70. We did test it on Friday. It was kind of resistance, but let's be a bit more optimistic than just looking at 70, which is the midway point. So support 65. After that, just below 60. That's fine. Covered support. On the way up, 7.36. On the way up, 77. 77 and 65. That's all I need to say about discovery. Just need to start squeezing now, you know, close above 77. This one's a bit like CD. Once you start having some good silver days, this can just be up 23% in one day because there's a lack of liquidity, and a bit of volume just does that. And then it looks amazing, and then people run into it with momentum, and this can just have a squeeze like it did over here. And I telegraphed this squeeze, but I didn't go into it. I just held what I had, and it basically did 40% in like a week. And that's pretty similar to what it could do to get to $1. I absolutely love this one when it goes up anyway. All right, next one, EXK. Yes, I have already done the line, so I don't need to spend too long. First of all, this is very clear resistance and support in case we do flush 2.3. But for now, it's true that this dip we have held 2.5. Look at that little hammer day after the flush. So that was nice because we didn't really have anything to go by, you know, besides this 2.3. So it's nice that we have some support above 2.3. So it makes the chart easier to read. But resistance, 3.10, 3.1. You could say it's kind of here, kind of there. 3.6, guys, the same thing. Just above 3 is resistance. In fact, a close above 3, we haven't even managed that. So a close above 3 is probably all you need. I wonder if we can do that before we get to 29 on silver. And then, you know what, if we close above 29 on silver, this descending, this one here is probably what's going to start getting taken out. A close above 29, you close, yeah, you're closing above 3.25, definitely actually. And then you're testing this for 30. And if 30 goes, I see, you know, if 30 goes, it's going to be a bit like that silver squeeze day where, like, say, after hours or pre-market on Sunday, first Majestic CD, they were up 30%, 40%. Maybe that's what's going to happen. You'll just have stocks up 20, 30%. I really think that could happen, like double digits, definitely. So if you're at 29 and you're already here or higher, 30 is, you know, it's time to zoom out EXK and start looking at some fives. And this one can still run. Like, it's really impressive how crap it was on the way down here. And ever since it had this monumental move up and it never retraced, it's just, maybe it's going to be one of the go-to stocks for a squeeze. But anyway, I need to clean up this stock with what I've just done, this graffiti. But for me, 3 point, just above 3, a close above 3. And then you're talking about this massive descending. And then you can talk about basically 4, from 3 to 4. That's it. Next level is 4. That's nice. All right, finally, Mag Silver. Yeah, Mag Silver. Talking about crappy little stocks that have done quite well. This one, you know, when EXK was squeezing, this one was doing very minimal uptrend. But look at this move here. That's okay. Took out the descending, kept going, back tests. Now look, and look at this Thursday, this Newmont Thursday. It was up like 5, 6, 7% or something. I remember thinking, whoa, that's not normal for mag. Normally it's one of the weaker ones, and sometimes it's even red when it should be green. I thought that's interesting. And it just closed above this, you know, all-time high in gold move. So this is notable. Friday went higher. I know it closed unchanged red, but it actually ventured higher. Basically, we're testing 1350, right? It went to 1330. This is the same thing as 1350. And we haven't been there in a long time. So this is actually outperforming. So if we can start closing above, well, just a high on Friday, 1320, but let's say 1350, close above 1350, you're going to go straight to 1450. And now it's time to zoom out. Finally, MAG has done enough of a move to be able to zoom out and start looking at older moves. And I really don't see 15 is nothing there. 15 and 16, nothing there. It's 17. I can't believe we're talking about such a high number. I was ready to liquidate this the whole time. So I've hardly sold any of MAG actually, but it will be one of the ones that I liquidate first. I forgive, but I don't forget. The pain it's caused during this period, just whilst everything else was moving up, let's say. So yeah, resistance on the way up, 1350, 1440, and then 17. Big move. We've already taken out the descending and it's outperforming. So imagine silver going to 29 and 30. This thing is going to start, you know, start being, I don't know where it would be by then, but it's looking very good. Now support on the way down. I would say prior resistance, which is here-ish, but it's just too close. The real support, in case there's a big drop, 1150. And no matter how strong it is, it wouldn't surprise me if it go all the way back down to 1150 if there's a big move down. And after that, it'd be the descending back test. And after that, down here, back to disappointing $10. But I don't want to talk about that. Those days are hopefully over. Next one. This one also, Aris Mining. Look at this, constantly making new highs, right? Look at this. Ever since we took out this 3.6, 3.7 zone, this one here, should start using the yellow a bit more. It's just kept going because for me, there's nothing until, well, I say 4.2, but even there, there's not much resistance. There's really only one resistance, 4.8. Aris Mining is doing amazing, and it's been doing amazingly for a long, long time. Whilst the miners were going down, it was making high lows. Then, okay, all the other miners sort of outperformed it, but it kept on making high lows and higher highs. Look at this. We went up here to this 3.5, screamed up, back tested. Now we're going higher. And Friday was again a new all-time local high for not really resistance. So where do we go next? 4.2. I've got 4.2. You can see why this sort of support zones from over here. You know, it's nothing special, and I could be wrong, but resistance obviously here at 4.8. So, and after 4.8, nothing until you could say 5.2. No, really nothing until 6 or higher, 6.6. So keep your eye on this one. This is a monster. But then once after 6.6, I don't know where to place resistance. I can't wait until it gets there. I think it will get there because then this chart is just ridiculous. Then it's, yeah, you see what I mean? Right, next one is I Am Gold. This one, obviously I chased this. I say chase, but I bought it at 2.95, 3.05, average $3. I'm not looking to sell this because it's a new buy and I really have my high hopes for this. This is the best close since the bull run. So we're at 3.78. It looks amazing. Next resistance is 3.9, just under 4. Why have I got that? Because of this zone. Actually, it's a rough resistance. You could actually, well, anyway, the old high that we did when gold made its highest all-time high. It looks like, you know, with the close we just had, any move up, we're going to go straight past 4. And then we run to 4.4. Honestly, that is a bit of resistance. I don't really expect much. It's kind of plucked out of thin air, that resistance. It's not necessarily, yeah, I would say it's 4.3 to 4.4. I'm going to do a little average 4.35. I think I'll know what I mean when I see it. Something like that. And after that, all the way up to 5, 5.3, 5.4. So Iron Gold has a very good future ahead of itself. And then after 5.5, it's going to be the all high, all the way up here, 7.2. And if I zoom out, look, it reminds me of EGO actually, Eldorado, like a very good stock, which has had an immense move in the past, like the 2011 high. So this one just looks so set to keep going. And that's why I chased it over here. I wanted to buy at 2.7, but I wanted some extra confirmation. And then gold started to squeeze. I thought, no, it's now or never. So this very nice, you know, best close so far, despite gold being, you know, $100 away from its high. So very happy with Iron Gold. Mag Silver also, by the way, quite a few of these ones are just doing really well, just completely outperforming. Aris Mining, Mag Silver, Iron Gold, a lot of them are just best closes so far. So really, really happy. And that's why, whilst the DXY is going up and yields going up, you know, that's why I don't mind things staying the same. All right, next one is SBSW. It's not exactly a pure gold play, but a lot of palladium and platinum involved in this one. Came down. Platinum and palladium have also come down, but you can see this one's been hard to call actually with the levels. But anyway, this is, at least now it is, 4.8 is support because it was resistance, you know. I mean, I've drawn so many resistance, eventually I'm right here, but this one here, one, you can make this another one, you know, you can see why this held. Now on the way up, I really don't think this will be a level, so I'm going to remove it. I mean, it is a mini level, but let's just keep it simple. There you go, support 4.8, resistance is going to be the old resistance 5.8. Let's see if we can make a move. I'm not going to go check platinum palladium real quick. You see, oh, look at that, that's a horrible close. Palladium, at least SBSW has outperformed it. But, you know, it's come down. That's why I mean, that's why SBSW has given up a lot. Platinum, definitely, you can see that entire retracement. You can see that reflected in the SBSW price. So yeah, to go up, you just need platinum and palladium to go up too, but otherwise gold and silver are helping. So there you go. Now, if it keeps going down, then yeah, unfortunately, go all the way back down to 4. I don't have much in this one because it's a high risk one, unlike almost all the other stocks I hold. But I've got enough so that if it does squeeze in you know, in 1 year, if it's at 10, then I've made a decent amount. And it won't go to 0, I don't think. So I'll just keep it simple. Those 3 levels, 4, 4.8, 5.8. Okay, finally, GLGDF. another one that's looking quite promising finally. It's underperformed for a while. You can see resistance, and I did trim here. I trimmed at 1.12. I remember this on the way up during here. It has ventured a little higher. Honestly, it should be at 1.3 at least by now. Came back down. I don't want to say it, back tested this ending because it didn't touch it, but whatever, just a few cents off. Basically tested 95 cents. And now good bounce, good close, high of day, outperformed the others, relatively speaking. Next test is 1.15. We close above that. We go straight to 1.3. This is well overdue. In fact, I think it's imminent because this is totally absurd. So support is 95 cents, but I don't even want to talk about that because this looks so destined to go to 1.15 and then 1.3. And then you could even talk about 1.46 right after, but the lines are there, so nothing to readjust. There you go. That's my portfolio update. I'm going to try and do the others, but I'll make a quick video now. Otherwise, I might not get around to it. So hope you found that all of use. And let me know what you think too, especially with the miners outperforming the metals, relatively speaking, and all of this happening whilst DXY and yields look like they want to keep going up in the background, and some individual stocks looking really strong. You can maximize profits by focusing on those. So anyway, good luck.